Hello everyone, I'm Sofia C. Atienza, and I will be your lecturer for General Chemistry. Ito ay para sa Free College Entrance Examination Review Program na handog sa inyo ng Smile Taytay Training Institute. So today, we are going to discuss one of the foundational concepts in chemistry. So ang topic natin ay matter. And this lecture will involve states of matter, properties of matter. Um, Siguro along our review, we will also learn how to differentiate between elements, compounds, and mixtures. So let's start with a simple question. Nandito sa screen yung sample question natin. And after reading the question, you can pause the video and try to answer it first on your own. So, which of the following best defines matter? So, most of you might go for letter B, and that's the correct answer. So, the correct answer for this sample question is letter B. Anything that occupies space and has mass is matter because all matter has mass and it takes up space by having volume. Okay, so meron siyang mass, nag-occupy siya ng space because meron siyang volume. Now, all physical objects, lahat ng bagay na pwede nating mahawakan, they are made of matter. And matter itself is made up of tiny building blocks known as atoms. Now, most of the questions about matter focuses on definitions. Pwedeng katulad nitong sample question na to, um, hinihingi sa inyo na ibigay kung ano yung best definition ng matter. Pwede din naman na um, itanong sa inyo na which of the following examples is matter, parang ganun. Pwede ding hanapan kayo ng ganong klase ng questions when it comes to entrance exams. Now, how about this question? So, yung sample question number 2 natin, which of the following is not considered matter? So, katulad ng ginawa natin in our previous sample question, you can pause the video and try to answer first on your own. Kanina, nabanggit natin na most of the questions about matter, it's either best definitions or examples ng kung ano ba yung pwede nating makonsider na matter. So, if matter is anything with mass and volume, then what about things that we can't see? 'Di ba? So, unang tingin natin sa choices, at first glance, everything here seems real. Alam natin kung ano yung water vapor. Alam natin kung ano yung oxygen gas. Ito yung bagay na na-inhale natin. Heat energy or yung init and ice. Now, they are all real. Totoo sila lahat. But only one of them isn't matter. Only one of them is not considered matter. And why is that? It's because not everything that exists is matter. And so the correct answer here is letter C. Okay, so heat energy is not considered matter. So bakit? 'Di ba? It's because heat energy is a form of energy alongside light, mechanical, and electrical. So yung mga forms of energy, they are not considered matter. Ano ba kasi yung energy? Bakit hindi siya considered as matter? It's because energy is the capacity to do work or to transfer heat. Now, heat energy may feel real. Totoo naman yung heat energy. Meron tayong heat energy kasi may nararamdaman tayong init. But it doesn't have mass. Wala siyang bigat. And it also doesn't occupy space. So that's your first big distinction between the two. Not everything that exists is matter. Okay? Now, even if something is matter, it's not just, sitting there doing nothing. Matter is actually constantly in motion. And hindi ko naman ibig sabihin na katulad ng chair or ng table na basta lang nandyan sila. Ang ibig ko sabihin na in constant motion yung matter is at the particle level. Okay, so even when something or when a thing looks completely still, it still matter. Yung pinaka bumubuo lang sa kanya, yung mga particles sa bumubuo sa kanya, yun yung ibig ko sabihin na they are constantly in motion. Let's try to answer the following question regarding dun sa nabanggit ko kanina in our previous slide. Which of the following situations best demonstrates that particles of matter are in constant motion? So you can pause the video ulit and try to answer it on your own. So, imagine nyo na nag-spray kayo ng perfume sa isang corner. Diba? Nasa isang room kayo, enclosed space. Then, nag-spray kayo ng perfume sa isang corner. And a few seconds later, someone across the room smells it. Ganon. So, no one carried, the smell there. Wala namang fan, walang electric fan na nag-push dun sa in-spray nyo na perfume para maamoy nung tao sa other side of the room yon. And that's because yung particles ng matter, 'di ba, maliliit sila, they are tiny, invisible particles. They are constantly and continuously moving kahit in random motion. Okay? So the correct answer for this question is letter B, the diffusion of perfume in a closed room. Okay? Ito yung tamang sagot. Kasi, katulad na nabanggit natin kanina, kahit hindi natin nakikita yung physicality nung uh, particles no in-spray yung perfume, meron pa rin kayong inject na substance dun sa corner ng room na yon. And yung substance na yun, yung particles na nagbe-made up dun sa substance na yun, sa perfume, yun yung nagmo-move randomly and continuously dun sa space kung saan nyo sila nilagay. So, dito pa lang sa first three questions natin, we have already established na matter has mass and occupies space. Next is that yung sa second slide natin na not everything we experience is matter. Even though they are real, they are not matter. They are not classified as matter, katulad ng energy. And that all matter is made up of particles that are constantly moving. So yun yung tatlong bagay na tatandaan natin when we encounter questions like this. Now, siguro para sa inyo, medyo madali or surface level lang yung mga ideas na to. These ideas might seem, simple to you, but they explain everything that we are going to study, yung phases ng matter, and all their properties. Lahat yan sakop ng mga simple ideas na na-discuss na natin. So, matter is generally found in one of three states. You have solid, liquid, and gas. And I know may iba pang states of matter, pero yung focus kasi natin dito ay kung ano yung magiging coverage ng entrance examinations. And most exams, ang focus nila ay yung pang high school level na science. Okay? Siguro maganda rin kapag nag-aaral kayo on your own, mag-focus tayo or balikan natin yung mga naging lessons natin from grade 11 to grade 8. Kasi doon lang din naman sila nagbabase ng ilalagay sa mga examinations. Hindi naman sila magbibigay sa inyo ng parang college level or advanced chemistry or advanced biology type of questions. So anyway, going back to our slide here. So in a solid, dito tayo, atoms or molecules are in close contact. So ibig sabihin, sa solid, yung mga particle na nagme-made up ng solid, dikit-dikit sila. They are in close contact with each other. And sometimes, in a highly organized arrangement, ang tawag sa kanila ay crystal. Now, crystalline particles occupy definite positions in the crystal structure. So kapag naka-organize ang pa-crystal formation, yung isang solid object, merong definite position yung mga atoms doon sa structure na yon. And yung strengths of yung lakas ng interaction between these individual particles, yun yung magdedetermine ng hardness or ng strength ng crystal. Okay? So, hindi lang naman din crystal ang masasabi natin na solid. Actually, there are different types of solids. Katulad ng nabanggitan kanina, meron tayong tinatawag na crystalline solids. So, yung mga crystalline solids, yun nga, sila yung mga atoms nila naka-arrange in a regular and lattice pattern. So, ano yung mga examples ng crystalline solids? They are the metals, yung mga metal na bagay na nakikita natin in everyday life. Diamonds. Diamonds are crystalline solids, and even table salt or yung asin na ginagamit natin pang timpla ng mga pagkain natin. It's defined as crystalline solids. Now, how about solids na hindi crystal shape, ganun. So, meron tayong tinatawag na amorphous solids. So, sa amorphous solids, yung mga atoms nila, dikit-dikit pa rin sila, but they are arranged in an irregular, non-crystalline way. So, hindi definite yung position ng isang atom dun sa structure ng solid. Pero dikit-dikit pa rin sila. Ano yung example ng amorphous solid? So, katulad ng plastic. 'Di ba? Solid siya, pero yung atoms sa plastic, hindi siya naka-arrange ng parang naka-lattice pattern. Parang katulad nito. Hindi siya nakaayos ng ganyan. Irregular yung arrangement ng atom sa kanya. Next, example ng amorphous, we have gels. So, alam niyo yung mga gel na like um parang gelatin-like. So, 'di ba? Solid sila, classified as solids yung mga gels, pero yung atoms sila hindi naka-arrange in a specific pattern, hindi naka-arrange in a lattice pattern. So, hindi siya considered as crystalline solid. Okay, so there you go, your solids. Next, we have liquids. So, in a liquid, the atoms or molecules are usually separated by somewhat greater distances than in a solid. So, yung atoms dito, hindi sila konektado in a direct manner. Siguro medyo magkakalapit yung positions nila, pero hindi katulad ng solid na dikit-dikit. No matter the distinction, crystalline or amorphous solid kasi doon dikit-dikit talaga yung arrangement ng atoms and molecules. Dito kay liquid, they are separated by greater distances. Now, the movement of these atoms or molecules gives the liquid its most distinct property because liquid has the ability to flow. Okay, so liquids have ability to flow, covering the bottom and assuming the shape of its container. Ganun yung flow ng liquid. Una muna, mafe-fill yung bottom layer. Then, habang nafe-fill out yung container, it takes the shape of the container. So, that's the most distinctive property of liquid. And of course, we have gas. So, in a gas, distances between the atoms or molecules are much greater than in a liquid. And a gas always expands to fill its container. So, yun yung distinction naman ni gas against kay liquid and kay solid. So, there you have solid, liquid, and gas and kung ano yung mga properties nila. So, depending on conditions, a substance may exist in only one state of matter or it may be present in two or three states of matter. So, pwede yon. Pwedeng ang isang bagay mag-exist lang or makita nyo siya in just one state. May it be solid, liquid, or gas. Pwede din naman na sa dalawa or hanggang sa tatlong state. So, here we have a picture that shows a block of ice. Ito. This block of ice is on a heated surface. And makikita natin sa picture na to yung three states of water. Yung circular insets dyan, ito yung nagpapakita kung paano nako-conceive ng mga scientists yung mga states microscopically. Now, in terms of molecules with, two hydrogen atoms joined to one oxygen, kasi 'di ba H2O yung H2O yung water. So, sa ice, dito tayo kay letter A, the molecules are arranged in a regular pattern in a rigid framework. Kung makikita natin, yung H2O na molecules, dikit-dikit sila dyan. Ayan. Magkakakonekta sila, magkakadikit sila. So, yung molecules, naka-arrange sila in a regular pattern. Ibig sabihin, specific or distinct yung position nila sa structure. Ano kayang type of solid yon? So, iwan ko sa inyo yung tanong na yon. In liquid water naman, dito sa letter B, yung molecules, they are rather closely packed. So, ibig sabihin, medyo dikit-dikit sila, but they are able to move freely. Kung makikita nyo dito sa inset, hindi sila dikit-dikit. Walang pattern sa molecules. Dito naman sa gaseous water, sa letter C, yung mga molecules, they are spread apart. Okay? The molecules are widely separated. So, pwede pala na mag-exist sa tatlong state yung isang bagay. We have here the solid, and habang natutunaw yung ice, naliliquefy siya. So, you'll have liquid water. And then, kapag na-reach ni liquid water yung boiling point niya, some of the molecules will evaporate. And so, magta-turn sila from liquid to gaseous state. So, in our previous sample question, 'di ba, ginamit natin yung perfume example para makita or para ma-explain on how the particles of matter move randomly and continuously. Now, if I spray perfume in one corner of a room naman, bakit yung ibang tao sa other side ng room, bakit maamoy nila yon? Bakit nila maamoy yun kung sa isang parte lang naman ako na room nag-spray? No one carried the particles there. Walang visible stream na makikita natin moving across the air. So what exactly is traveling from one point to another? Now, to help us gain a better understanding, we need a model. A model is a way of thinking about matter na it will go beyond what we can see. And that model is called the particle theory of matter. Now, according to this theory, kasi everything that you've learned so far about matter, its mass, yung volume niya, and even its ability to spread and change, they can be explained by the six key ideas. So, ano kaya yung mga ideas na yun? Now, here on our screen, we have those key ideas. So, number one, all matter is made up of particles. So, ang ibig sabihin lang naman nito, lahat, including yung air, yung water na iniinom natin, mga metals, and even your own body, our own body, is made of tiny building blocks. Now, masyado silang maliit para makita natin with just our eyes, but they are always there. Okay, yun lang yung ibig sabihin ng first key idea dito. Next is that particles are in constant motion. So it means that those particles are not at rest. They are always moving. Paano kaya natin masasabi na nagmo-move yung particles kung nakikita natin na halimbawa yung silya, nandyan lang siya, nakatayo, or, or even yung table, hindi naman natin nakikita na naglalakad yung table, right? So, ibig sabihin nun, yung mga particles na nagme-made up din sa chairs and sa table, they are vibrating in their places. So, may movement pa rin na nangyayari because they are vibrating in their, position. So, kapag solid yung object, yung movement ng atoms or na molecules, vibration. It's true vibration. Sa liquids naman, they are sliding. They're like flowing. So, yun yung movement ng um, molecules or ng atoms. And when it comes to gases, they are moving freely in gaseous state naman. Okay, so yung katulad ng nabanggit natin na example kanina ng perfume na nag-spread across the room, that is motion at the particle level. So kahit hindi natin nakikita um, yung perfume particles, nag-spread pa rin siya across the room. It's because yung particles ng perfume, may particles ng perfume na may kakayahan na mag-move constantly and at random motion. Next, we have number three, there are spaces between the particles. So, matter may look continuous, but it is not. There are tiny gaps between the particles, and the size of those gaps depends on the state of matter. Okay, so ang example nun ay gas versus solids. yung mga gas, nako-compress sila. Yung mga gas particles, pwedeng makompress. Pero yung mga solid objects, they cannot be compressed. Okay? It's because yung space or yung gap between them, sa gas, malaki yung gap. Sa solids, hindi malaki yung gap. Maliit lang. So, ano pa yung i-compress mo sa kanila kung wala ka namang may squeeze out pa na space. Kasi nga, dikit-dikit masyado yung particle sa solid. So, that's your number three. Now, for the next postulate, we have here temperature affects the speed at which particles move. Kapag nag-init ka ng isang bagay, you're not just making it hot. You're not just making that substance hot. You're actually increasing the speed of its particles. Yun yung ibig sabihin dito. Because ito, temperature is not just a measure of hotness and coldness ng isang bagay. It is actually a measure of the average kinetic energy. It is the Ulitin ko, it is a measure of the average kinetic energy of the particles in a substance. So, si temperature yung magde-define how fast the particles move or vibrate, meaning higher temperatures mean faster particles, katulad na nakikita natin dito sa screen. And faster particles mean more movement. So, kapag mas marami yung movement, mas maraming particles yung gumagalaw, this can lead to changes like melting or boiling. Pwedeng magkaroon ng phase change. Kasi nga, mas gumagalaw or masyadong mabilis yung movement ng mga particles due to the increase in temperature or kapag nag-apply ka ng heat sa isang substance. Katulad ng pag-apply natin ng heat sa ice cube, 'di ba? So from solid, naging liquid, naging gas siya. It's because yung movement ng particles mas bumibilis at higher temperature. And we know naman na at higher temperature, it means tumataas yung init or parang mas umiinit pala. I'm sorry. Now, for the fifth postulate, we have here particles have forces of attraction between them. So, particles don't just move randomly, they also attract each other. And these forces that we are talking about, they are strongest in solids, quite weaker in liquids, and syempre, they are weakest in gases. Makikita naman natin kasi nga, mas spread apart yung mga particles sa gases kasi sa liquid and sa solid. And this is exactly why different states of matter exist because of the forces of attraction between them or yung mga forces na nag-hold between the molecules, nagdi-differ siya between the states. Now, for our final key idea or final postulate, we have here all particles of one substance are identical. It means that every pure substance is made of one kind of particle. That's why water always behaves like water and oxygen always behaves like oxygen because the identity of the particles determines the property of the substance. So now we have a powerful lens, to help us understand matter. Everything comes down to particles, yung motion nila, yung spaces between them, and even the attractions between the particles. But knowing those things, hindi siya enough. Kasi sa real exams, and even in real world application ng mga bagay na to, hindi lang naman tayo tinatanong what matter is made of. Sometimes they will ask us to explain how it changes. So, Minsan yung tanong, how does a solid become a liquid? Or even, how does a liquid turn into gas? Or even, how can a solid go directly into gas? So, there are six major ways matter can change from one state to another. So, we have here melting. So, melting is a phase change where a solid turns into a liquid due to energy absorption or when you applied heat. So katulad nito, meron tayong yellow. Meron tayong ditong yellow na kapag nag-apply tayo ng heat sa kanya, mag-undergo siya ng process ng melting kung saan magiging liquefied water siya. Next, we have freezing. On the other hand pala, we have freezing. Now, a substance that exists in its liquid state can be changed back into a solid state through a process. Yun nga, yung process ng freezing. So, kung meron ka ng liquefied na water, kapag nilagay natin siya sa freezer, kung saan walang, walang heat application, matatanggalan siya ng heat or ng init, pwede siyang bumalik into its solid state. Pwede siyang maging ice ulit. Now, when you boil yung water, when you boil yung liquefied water, you can see, the water vapor emitting from the pot that you use. And now, the conversion of the liquid state of matter to a gaseous physical form is called evaporation. So, meron na tayong solid to liquid, that's melting. Liquid to freezing. Sorry, liquid to solid, and that's freezing. And kapag nag-boil ka ng water or ng liquid water, mag-evaporate siya into a gaseous state. Now, paano naman yung gas to liquid? So, during condensation, yung substance, nagbabago siya from gas to the liquid state of matter. Example nito, yung water droplets na nafo-form outside of a cool or cold glass of ice water. 'Di ba? Kapag halimbawa, um, iniwan natin sa, iniwan lang natin sa table yung uh, glass of ice water natin. After a few minutes, may makikita tayong tubig dun sa gilid ng glass. So, that's condensation. Saan nanggaling yung water na yon kung nandun siya sa outside or nandun siya sa labas ng baso mo? So, it's actually the water that comes from the water vapor from the surrounding air. Okay? So, katulad dito sa atin, sa bansa natin, sa Philippines, masyadong mataas yung humidity kahit nasa loob ka lang ng bahay, lalo na ngayon na mainit yung panahon. So kapag nag-iwan ka ng glass of water na may ice sa loob, after a few seconds nga lang, may makikita ka ng mga water droplets sa labas ng baso mo, that's condensation. Again, yung water na yon, I mean, yung water droplets na makikita natin sa labas ng baso natin, nanggagaling siya sa water vapor from the surrounding air. Next, we have sublimation. It's the transition of a substance directly from a solid to gas. So, ibig sabihin, nababypass niya yung liquid phase. Diretso siyang gas, from solid to gas, that's sublimation. Ang example nito ay yung sa naphthalene balls. Naphthalene. I'm not sure if you're familiar with naphthalene, but naphthalene is an organic compound, and it is commonly used as a fumigant. You know, yung mga bola na nakikita nyo sa mga closets, 'di ba minsan, hindi ako sure kung kung gumagamit kayo nito sa bahay or kung familiar kayo dito. Pero kapag nilagay mo kasi yung mga naphthalene balls sa mga cabinets, they slowly release gas that will kill pests in all life stages. Kaya siya ginagamit uh, kaya siya nilalagay sa mga closet or sa mga cabinets para ma-prevent yung infestation ng mga pest. Yung kung mapapansin nyo or kung gumagamit kayo ng mga naphthalene balls, kahit ilagay nyo lang siya sa isang sulok ng closet, mag-shrink siya paunti-unti until it vanishes. It's because it slowly releases gas during the process. So, hindi siya nag-melt. Hindi siya nag-form into a liquid state. Literal na from solid to gas yung transformation niya. So, that's an example of sublimation. Next, we have deposition. Deposition is the phase transition where gas is directly converted into a solid. Again, nag-skip siya ng liquid phase. Ano yung example ng deposition? So, snow formation is an example of deposition, yung pagkakabuo ng snow. Wala tayo nandito sa Pilipinas, pero a quick Google search can show you how snow can be formed. Yung water vapor kasi sa clouds, yun yung nag-change directly into ice, which skips the liquid phase entirely. Okay? So, yung snow ulit, nafo-form siya from the water vapor sa clouds. Then, kapag masyadong mataas yung temperature, sorry, baliktad pala. Kapag masyadong malamig, masyadong mababa yung temperature, nag-change siya into a crystalline solid, into ice. So, phase changes of matter typically occur when the temperature or yung pressure ng system or ng environment nagbabago. Kapag yung temperature or yung pressure nag-increase, tumaas, yung molecules, they interact more with each other. Katulad na nakita natin dito, from solid, naging liquid, naging gas siya. Kapag tumaas yung temperature, kapag nag-apply tayo ng heat, yung molecules ng isang state of matter, mas nag interact siya sa mga katabi niyang molecules. However, kapag naman yung temperature nag-decrease or bumaba yung temperature, meaning mas lumamig, it's easier for the molecules to settle into a more rigid structure. And also, when pressure is released, it's easier for particles to actually move away from each other. Now, yung key idea dito sa phase changes, hindi naman kayo tatanungin dyan na ano yung conversion ng solid to liquid or kaya na kung ano yung conversion ng um, from liquid to gas. Kasi masyadong parang magiging definition based naman yon, and hindi nun mapapakita yung application ng knowledge natin. Now, every single one of these is just, ito yung tatandaan natin, it's just a change in particle motion, change in the spaces between the particles, and the change in the strength of forces between them. So, as we go through each transition, hindi lang natin sila dapat i-memorize yung direction, but actually, kapag in-apply na natin to sa mga sample questions, let's try to ask ourselves instead, are the particles moving slower or faster? Are they actually getting closer together or farther apart? para mas maintindihan natin or para mas ma-analyze natin yung mga questions regarding this topic. Kasi hindi naman, yun nga, hindi naman basta-basta natatanungin lang tayo ng phase changes. But actually, kung ano yung nangyayari during those phase changes. So here we have a chart on the vertical axis. We have the temperature. On the horizontal axis naman, we have the heat being added. So as we move to the right, ayan, mula dito hanggang dito. So as we move to the right, we are actually continuously adding energy to the substance. So at the beginning, meron tayong solid dito na substance. Now, as heat is added, the temperature also increases. The temperature rises and it is actually shown by the upward slope. So, at the particle level, yung mga particles, they vibrate faster. And kapag nagbabibrate sila ng mas mabilis, ibig sabihin, mas mabilis din yung interaction nila with each other. So, yung kinetic energy din nila, nag increase. Now, at 0 degrees Celsius, makikita natin dito na yung graph, it becomes flat. Even though na nag-add tayo ng heat, kasi 'di ba habang papunta tayo sa right, ibig sabihin nag increase din yung heat. So even if the heat is added, hindi tumaas yung temperature. Meron tayong flat line dito. And this is actually, dito nangyayari yung transition ng solid to liquid. Dito nangyayari yung melting. Now, yung nadagdag na energy or yung nadagdag na heat dito, it's not increasing the temperature. Okay? Makikita natin dito, ito, flat line siya. May na-increase na heat pero hindi tumaas yung temperature niya. So, saan napunta yung heat na yon? Kung nadagdag pero hindi naman nag-increase yung temperature. It is actually used to overcome the intermolecular forces or yung forces between the molecules in the substance. During a phase change, actually, the temperature remains constant while energy is used to break particle attractions. Again, during phase change, hindi nag increase yung temperature. Yung energy na na-apply, yung heat na nadagdag natin, ginamit siya to break yung attractions between the particles. Kasi 'di ba na banggit natin dun sa postulate kanina na may mga attractions between the particles ng matter. Ngayon, kapag lahat ng solid na part ng substance na to, na melt na siya, the temperature starts increasing again. Kung makikita natin dito sa part na to, dito lang siya ulit nagsimulang umangat. So now, we are heating a liquid. At this part, yung mga particles, mas mas bumilis yung pag-move nila. They are still somewhat close together, but they are now sliding past each other. And so after some time, we will hit another flat line. We will hit another plateau at 100 degrees Celsius. Now, this is the process of boiling where the liquid converts into gaseous state. Now, again, kung makikita natin dito, may flat line ulit, it means that their temperature remains constant. Ayun nga siya, nasa 100 degrees. Even though na yung heat patuloy na nadadagdagan. Bakit? Saan napupunta ulit yung energy na yon? So, energy is used to completely separate the particles here, overcoming the intermolecular forces again. Now, instead of increasing the kinetic energy, the heat is used for the phase change itself. After all the liquid turns into gas, ayan siya, the temperature rises again. So, parang may nakikita na tayong pattern. After the temperature rises again, at particle level, the particles move very fast, but now they are very far apart from each other. And kapag masyado na silang malayo sa isa't isa, very minimal na lang yung attractive forces between them. Okay, so this entire graph is telling us na when temperature increases, ito yung mga slope lines, ito yung mga bahagi ng process kung saan yung mga particles mas lalong bumibilis yung movement nila. This is where the particles move faster, and when the temperature stays constant, itong mga flat lines, mga plateau na yan, the particles are changing arrangement. Okay? Again, kapag nakita natin na yung graph, pataas siya, ibig sabihin yung particles, they move faster. May nangyayaring paggalaw sa mga particles. Although constant nga pala yung movement nila, pero mas mabilis yung movement nila kapag tumataas si temperature. Kapag nag-flatline si temperature, it's the particles' time to change their arrangement. Dito lang, sa part na to, nagbabago yung um, arrangement ng atoms nila. So, from being, close to each other, pagdating dito, magkakahiwalay na sila. Very far apart, very minimal na lang yung attractive forces. At first line, dito nangyayari si melting. At second flat line, dito nangyayari si boiling or si evaporation. Now, the reverse processes can also exist, in freezing, condensation, sublimation, and even in deposition. And each of these transitions is simply a change in particle motion, particle spacing, and the intermolecular forces between the particles. So, dito lang parang in-explain ng mas in-depth kung ano yung nangyayari between or during the transitions kapag nag-change ng phase yung state of matter. Now, let's try to answer the following question. You can pause the video and try to answer it on your own. A student observes that as a solid substance reaches its melting point, the temperature remains constant even though heat is still being added. What is the added energy primarily being used for at this stage? So the correct answer for this is letter D. During the phase change of melting, and the energy added to the substance is not used to increase, the speed of the molecules. Kaya nga, naging hindi nagbago yung temperature. The temperature remains constant. Instead, yung energy na yon, known as a latent heat, ang tawag doon, yung energy applied. The latent heat is used specifically to break or overcome the intermolecular forces, or the forces that holds the particles together in a rigid structure, which allows them to transition into liquid state. Okay, so again, during phase change of melting, the heat added to the substance is not used to increase the temperature, but rather to break or overcome the forces that holds the particles together. So that's the answer for the sample question. Now, moving on, sometimes a sample of matter undergoes a change in its physical appearance. In such a physical appearance or physical change, some of the physical properties of the sample or the substance may change. Pero yung composition niya or kung ano yung nagme-made up sa kanya, it remains unchanged. For example, when liquid water freezes into solid water, so nagiging ice, yung liquid water, nakita natin na kakaiba yung itsura niya. Iba yung itsura ng liquid sa solid. It certainly looks different and in many ways, magkaiba talaga sila. Yet, kapag tinignan natin yung composition ng liquid water and ng yellow, water remains 11% hydrogen and 88% oxygen by mass. Okay, so sana medyo naintindihan natin yon na kapag nagkakaroon ng physical change, nagbabago yung parang shape or form ng substance or ng matter, pero hindi yung composition niya or ng chemical identity niya. Katulad nga ng example sa water. Kahit liquid water siya or solid water siya, same pa rin yung composition niya na 11% hydrogen siya and the remaining percent is oxygen by mass. Next, in chemical change or chemical reaction, one or more kinds of matter is actually converted to new kinds of matter with different compositions. Medyo importante to kasi kahit sabihin na natin na simpleng idea lang yung chemical change, minsan kasi yung mga type of questions, pinapa-identify sa inyo kung ano yung chemical change na nangyari. Now, the key to identifying yung chemical change na nangyari is to observe the change in composition. Now, paano natin yun magagawa kung nasa exam lang tayo? We only have pen and paper, you know? Pero sometimes yung mga types of question naman, katulad ng burning of paper, so you know na may nangyayaring chemical change doon kasi hindi mo naman maibabalik yung nasunog na papel into its former um, physical appearance, right? So, ibig sabihin, may na-involve na doon na chemical change. Now, we know na paper is a complex material, pero yung um, main composition or yung principal constituents ng paper is just carbon, oxygen, and hydrogen. Now, yung mga products naman nung nangyaring combustion or nung nangyaring pagkasunog, meron kang dalawang gases doon. One is carbon dioxide and the other is steam or yung pinaghalong hydrogen and oxygen. So, minsan ganun yung mga type of chemical change na ginagawang example sa mga exam. Ano lang sila, medyo simple lang din. Hindi natin kakailanganin ng in-depth knowledge ng mga complex na bagay or complex sa chemical reaction. Now, the ability of the paper to burn is an example of chemical property. So, properties are those qualities or attributes that we can use to distinguish one sample of matter from other samples of matter. And as we consider, yung mga properties of matter, they are generally grouped into two categories. We have physical properties and chemical properties. So, kapag sinabi natin na chemical properties, these are exhibited by matter as it undergoes change in composition and identity related to the kinds of chemical changes that the substance go through. Aside from the burning of paper, na example ng chemical property, or yung ability ng paper to be burned, other chemical properties in actions are the ability of iron to turn into rust when exposed to oxygen and water. So, 'di ba kapag yung isang piece of iron iniwan lang natin um sa isang lugar ng hinayaan lang natin siyang parang nakabuyang-yang lang gano'n. Kapag na-expose siya sa hangin at sa tubig, after some time, hindi na siya iron. May kalawang or rust na na-form dun sa surface ng metal. Other example is gasoline. So gasoline is a highly flammable and combustible substance. This is just a few examples of the chemical properties. Next is the physical property. So this property of a substance can be observed and even measured without changing its composition. We can distinguish, between the colors. For example, we can distinguish reddish brown na solid. So, kapag ganun, ang may isip natin copper because it's, red and brown in color against isang yellow na solid. Example nun ay sulfur. So, madidistinguish natin or ma-separate natin si copper and si sulfur by their colors alone. And yung pagkaka or yung ability na ma-distinguish sila by color, it's their physical property. Ano pa yung example ng physical property? So we also have boiling point and melting point. So instead of seeing phase changes as isolated topics, they are actually also evidences of properties of substances. Ano pa ba? So I guess that's your physical properties and chemical properties. So yung key idea natin dito sa properties of matter is that the properties of matter explain how matter behaves, and that behavior actually shows up as phase changes. So katulad na nabanggit natin kanina na yung boiling and melting point, they are physical properties of a substance. Next, we have intensive and extensive properties. So intensive properties, meaning they are independent of amount of the matter in a sample. So these properties, yung nasa left side ng screen natin, these properties remain constant. Hindi siya nagbabago regardless of the size of the sample. So for example, kapag yung sample or yung substance, hinati natin sa gitna, yung intensive properties, they will remain the same in each half. Okay? For example, yung melting and yung boiling point, the temperature where phase changes occur. For example, yung water, kapag meron kang 1 glass of water, then hinati mo yon. So, meron ka ng tig 1/2 cup of water. Kahit mag-undergo siya ng boiling point, yung intensive property niya ng boiling point, it remain the same. So, ibig sabihin, yung kalahating cup ng water, ang boiling point pa rin niya ay 100 degrees Celsius. Kahit cup, isang buong cup or kalahating cup or 1/3 cup ng water, yung i-boil mo, 100 degrees Celsius pa rin yung boiling point nila. And that's your intensive properties. Another example of this is color. Wala pala akong example ng color dito. Color and odor. So, ang color and odor, these are physical characteristics and they do not change based on the quantity. Kung ano yung kulay ng object or kung ano yung amoy niya, it will remain the same kahit hatiin mo siya sa dalawa, sa tatlo, or sa apat. Okay? Next, we have the extensive properties. Now, this kind of properties depends on the amount. These properties are additive, meaning the total value depends on the amount of the material present. For example, yung mass, 'di ba? Yung bigat. Dependent siya dun sa total amount ng matter na present dun sa sample mo or ng substance mo. Kasi syempre, kapag marami kang nilagay na sample, edi mas tumataas yung mass niya. Mas bumibigat siya. Next is that, next is yung length or yung size. So, extensive properties sila kasi they show physical dimensions. Syempre, kapag mas marami kang samples or mas marami kang nilagay or um, ginawa na substance, yung length niya or yung size niya nagbabago dahil nga mas marami kang matter na present, mas marami kang substance na present. Kapag naman binawasan mo yon, magde-decrease din naman yung length and yung size niya. So, ibig sabihin, extensive property nga yung length and size. Here we have entropy. So entropy is also an extensive property because entropy, yung magnitude ng entropy, it depends on the amount of material in the system. Ano example nito? Imagine na meron kang 2 litro ng tubig at 25 degrees Celsius. So, ibig sabihin, room temperature yung water. Now, yung 2 litro mo na yon ng tubig, they have twice the entropy of 1 liter of water at the same temperature, yung 25 degrees Celsius. Kasi there are twice, mas doble, yung molecules ng 2 litro ng tubig na nagpo-possess ng disordered motion. Okay, so that's your entropy. So here we have another sample question. Which of the following describes a chemical property of magnesium? You can try to pause the video and try to answer on your own. So kapag inanalyze natin yung choices, si letter A, sabi niya, meron siyang silvery white metal appearance. So, letter A describes the appearance and the state of the substance. Ano kayang property yung appearance? Next, sa letter B, burns in the air. So, ibig sabihin, may nangyayaring combustion reaction with oxygen. Kasi air is made up of oxygen, or yung air pala, may component siya na oxygen. So kapag react si magnesium kay oxygen, ang nangyayaring chemical reaction dyan, na-form si magnesium oxide. And because the chemical identity of magnesium changes during this process, ano kayang klase ng property iyon? So letter C naman, density. Density is the ratio of mass to volume. So, ibig sabihin, hindi siya involved sa pagbabago ng identity ng substance. Letter D, it means ductility, the ability to drawn into thin wires. So, this is a mechanical or physical property kasi related siya sa arrangement ng atoms. 'Di ba? From, a solid substance, then mapapanipis mo siya into wires. So, hindi naman nagbago yung chemical composition ni magnesium dito. So, the answer for this question is letter B. Kasi magbabago yung identity ni magnesium kapag nag-react siya with oxygen. Magiging magnesium oxide na siya. And kapag nagkaroon ng another substance, nagkaroon ng formation ng bagong substance, ibig sabihin, nagbago yung chemical identity ng mga chemicals na involved. And that's chemical property. So now we just identified different types of properties, the physical properties like density, color, and ductility, and the chemical properties like reactivity. Ang next naman natin na i-discuss, our main question for our next topic would be, what kind of substance are we actually dealing with? Diba? Kasi we classify matter based on its composition and behavior. So for example, what kind of matter is it? What kind of matter ba yung sinasabi dito sa sample question na to? So, magnesium is an element. It has its own unique set of physical and chemical properties, and those properties come from the type of particles it's made of. So, it leads us to one of the most important frameworks when studying chemistry, which is the classification of matter, where everything is grouped into elements, compounds, and mixtures. Now, mahalaga siya na matutunan and ma-familiarize, because once you are able to classify matter correctly, you can actually predict its properties, pati yung behavior niya, and even how it will react. So, every sample of matter is either a single substance or a mixture of substance. So, at the molecular level, an element, ito, an element consists of atoms of a single type. Okay? Sa isang element, isang type lang ng atom yung nag-e-exist. Sa compound consists of two or more different types of atoms. Usually, joined together sila into molecules. On the other hand, in a homogeneous mixture, the atoms or molecules are randomly mixed at molecular level. Okay, mix na sila dito. When in heterogeneous mixtures naman, the components are physically separated. So, ibig sabihin, makikita mo dun sa mixture yung pagkakahiwalay ng dalawang substance na present. Example nito, na-try nyo na bang maghalo ng oil sa water? So, kapag na-try nyong lagyan ng water or ng Tama. Kapag na-try niyong lagyan ng tubig yung oil, makikita niyo na yung layer ng oil actually, it floats on the top of water molecules. So kahit parehas silang liquid, makikita pa rin natin yung physical separation ng matter. And that's heterogeneous mixtures. Now, we can use this diagram to answer questions regarding classification of matter. Let's try with this sample question. Using the classification scheme for matter in the previous slide, we can easily answer the following problem. A sample of matter is uniform throughout and cannot be separated into different components by physical means like filtration or evaporation. This sample is most likely blank. So the process of separating a solid from a liquid, kung saan nakasuspend si solid, ang tawag doon ay filtration. Kapag um, kapag binuhos natin yung mixture sa isang funnel or parang yung embudo, and yung funnel natin, meron siyang filter paper, yung tubig, magpa-pass through siya. Pero yung solid part ng mixture, for example, yung sand, it will remain on the paper. So yun yung process ng filtration. So again, going back to our sample question, this sample of matter is uniform throughout. Hindi siya mapaghihiwalay into different components by physical means. So the sample is most likely a pure substance. Naintindihan ba natin kung paano ginamit yung classification scheme? Kapag na-present sa atin yung isang sample, pwede natin tignan kung mapaghihiwalay ba natin with physical means yung sample. So if our answer is no, then it must be a substance. Now, ang nasa choices lang naman hanggang dito sa level na to. So hindi na natin or hindi na tayo nag-proceed with using the following diagram. So hanggang dito lang siya. Dito pa lang, masasagot na natin yung sample question. How about this one? So again, we can use the classification scheme for matter. In answering this sample question, a sample of matter is uniform throughout and can be separated into different substances using a physical process like distillation. So ano kaya ang sagot natin dito? How should this matter be classified? So again, tingnan natin, can it be separated by physical means? Sabi dito, it can be separated through distillation. So the answer is yes. Ayan siya. So it's a mixture. Now, what kind or what type of mixture kaya yung nasa problem? Ang sabi dito, a sample of matter is uniform throughout. And kapag uniform, ibig sabihin, isang phase lang yung nakikita natin dun sa sample. So either lahat ng substances sa mixture ay solid o kaya lahat ng substances dun sa object na yon ay liquid. So if it's uniform throughout, then it's a homogeneous mixture. Okay? So Today, we built a strong foundation in understanding matter. We began by defining kung ano ba yung matter, ano yung mga states of matter, and ano yung mga unique particle arrangements ng bawat state of matter. We also explored, phase changes such as melting and boiling. You know, we also emphasize how energy transfer drives those transformations. We also distinguish, physical properties against chemical properties, and we clarify the difference between physical changes, which, alter appearances but not the composition, and ano pa, yung chemical changes, which produce new substances but with different properties. So, I think tapos na yung first lesson natin when it comes to matter. Siguro, last tip ko na lang din sa inyo for your preparation for the exam is to try to visualize particle behavior. Try to imagine how particles move in solids, liquids, and gases. Because when you try to visualize how they behave, it actually helps with phase change questions. So, thank you for listening and see you to our next topic.